Alarm sounds. A B-52 bomber of the U.S. Air Force makes an emergency takeoff. After more than 310 miles of travel at an altitude of 49,200 feet, the enemy base is finally in sight. At the push of a button, the cargo compartment opens and ejects 8 high-precision missiles weighing several tons each. This aircraft is a true world record holder in several aspects. It flies more than 8,700 miles on a single refueling, carries 70,500 pounds of weapons, and has earned the honor of becoming a symbol of American resolve. During its history, it received the most modifications and is considered the most powerful bomber ever built.
Will probably be the most famous airplane ever.
The threat it poses is creating panic even among Americans, as it has repeatedly caused terrible disasters that could wipe out entire cities. Nevertheless, this amazing aircraft can surprise you. The Boeing company really tried its best when creating this behemoth in early 1946. The main goal was to build vehicles with a combat radius that would allow the delivery of a thermonuclear bomb to any part of the world. Despite this important mission, the project received almost no funding. The first decent aircraft concept was drawn by a couple of engineers on a napkin while they were chatting in a cafe. Even with such an extraordinary approach, the project almost fully met the requirements, and in the end, the company did receive funding from the state, which made it possible to show a working copy in the near future. A few years later, the B-52 Stratofortress made its first flight and proved its superiority. The aircraft became so popular that when the Central California airfield was still in operation, the majestic B-52s of 1996 took off and landed from it about every 15 minutes. It was an incredible sight to see giant aircraft flying low over the houses every day. If you were on the flight path, the engine noise would be so deafening that you'd hardly be able to hear anything. Today, the Central California airport is home to a military museum featuring more than 80 aircraft, including one of these magnificent B-52s.
You know, it's almost like a sprinter ready to take off. And then you get moving.
But this is not the only place to see the greatness of American aviation. The Boeing company produced only 744 bombers, 700 of which were scattered throughout the country. Currently, 60 of them are still on combat duty and are always ready to fight. Just think, B-52s are now 71 years old and still in service. It's unlikely that any other bomber will ever serve as long and have such a powerful reputation. And of course, like every large aircraft, the B-52 also has its problems. For example, when flying, it creates scary smoking trails that can be seen from several miles away. Of course, this hints at engine problems, and Stratofortress has a lot of them. The shortcomings with the fuel system are proof of this. Constant leaks, clogging, or malfunctions with the fuel supply are just the beginning. Turbines and compressors are also prone to rapid wear, which only increases fuel consumption and, accordingly, the amount of exhaust gases left by the aircraft. In addition, the original engines developed in the late 1950s, which were installed on the Boeing 707, were characterized by low combustion efficiency. The same engines moved to the B-52, bringing all their problems with them. However, the B-52 has already begun an engine upgrade program, which is being worked on by the well-known Rolls-Royce company. The final tests of the F-130 dual-pod engine have begun. It's free of all the above problems and has increased reliability and consumes less fuel. This means that if the new engine replaces the old one soon, the B-52 will be able to live for at least another 30 years. While analogs such as the Boeing 727, DC-10, L-1011 are gradually being phased out of service, the B-52 Stratofortress is still serving the U.S. Air Force.
The B-52 has now become a symbol of more than a bomber. It's a symbol of America's resolve.
But its power is capable of creating a real nightmare for the enemy. To understand this, just look at the process of dropping several tons of bombs on an island in the middle of the ocean. Bomb drops from a B-52 Stratofortress bomber are a complex process that requires precision and coordination. Before the bombs are dropped, military commanders and operators develop a mission plan. It includes target selection, route, flight altitude, and other parameters. The shells are then loaded on board the B-52 and installed in the aircraft's bomb bays, which can hold a total of 70,500 pounds of cargo. Since the bomber is equipped with modern navigation and target monitoring systems, it's not difficult for it to determine the exact location of the target. After that, when the B-52 reaches the position, the operators on board activate the jettisoning systems. The bombs can be dropped one at a time, causing a series of strikes, or simultaneously creating an explosion of incredible proportions. If necessary, the crew can adjust the trajectory of the bombs to hit the target accurately, and after a successful attack, the B-52 moves away from the drop site to ensure its own safety. It should be noted that the B-52 Stratofortress is capable of carrying various types of munitions, including guided and unguided bombs, cruise missiles, cluster munitions, and even nuclear-tipped missiles, which proved to be very dangerous. So in the mid-1980s, the B-52 was modernized to use non-nuclear weapons. At the very least, they made it easier to load and unload bombs, added a camera in the bomb bay so no one needs to crawl in there and check for shells. This was the beginning of a long way to modernize the majestic aircraft.
We modified the B-52D models with what we call the big belly modification to the point where between external and internal carriage.
The newest variant of the Stratofortress is called the B-52J, and as an interesting fact, at one point the U.S. Air Force considered installing a Stinger SAM in the tail of the aircraft to replace the tail gun. A separate item is the modernization of the aircraft's stealth capability. The B-52 has one of the most powerful electronic warfare systems among U.S. combat aircraft. It includes equipment for setting up disinformation and noise interference, heat traps, and dipole reflectors. In addition, the G and H modifications are equipped with radar jamming systems, jamming transmitters, and detection warning equipment. In short, it's an incredibly powerful weapon that makes it almost impossible to shoot down an aircraft. However, out of all the strategic bombers currently in service, B-52, Tu-95, B-1, Tu-160, B-2, the B-52 is the only one that's been shot down. On the night of December 29, 1972, over 50 years ago, the Vietnamese People's Army shot down the 25th American B-52 bomber in the sky over Hanoi.
Made a mayday call. Much to his luck that day, a B-52 orbiting close.
This is yet another disaster for this aircraft, but the adventures did not end there. On June 24, 1994, a B-52 crashed at Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington, after its pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Bud Holland, went out of the bomber's range and lost contact with the base. The aircraft stalled, fell to the ground, and exploded. The crash was captured on video and repeatedly shown on the news around the world. However, despite all the tragedy of this case, the right approach allowed to find benefit in it. For example, this crash is now being used in the military and civil aviation community as a case study to train pilots to manage their resources. This case is also often used in training as an example of the importance of following safety rules. And here's another interesting fact. Of all the strategic bombers currently in service, the B-52 is the only one that participated in a full-scale war where real combat was fought. Given the fact that only one unit has ever been shot down, we can judge the reliability and effectiveness of this aircraft in real combat situations. But the B-52 was useful not only in war, but also in science. Stratofortress was used by NASA for research at high altitude, more importantly for launching X-15 rocket-powered spacecraft. As you can see, the B-52 is a real discovery, a legend among aviation, an absolute record holder that still serves and will continue to serve as a symbol of American determination. This is the end of the video. Subscribe to the channel if you liked the video, and also don't forget to express your opinion with likes and comments that we read carefully. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.